Recently, Penguinz0, aka MoistCr1tikal, aka Charlie, has found himself in a sticky situation after his terrible debate, and some people think he's retiring for good. Yeah, so this sneako versus MoistCr1tikal stuff has officially boiled over.
You wanna watch my clips? Watch my clips. Watch my clips.
But he's a f***ing imbecile, you absolute buffoon. What you have there is not clips. These are mags. They're mags, not clips. The same way that this is also a mag.
I'm taking bets on who crashes out first. Penguinz0, aka MoistCr1tikal, aka Charlie, is in the middle of a cancellation attempt by all of Twitter. Or X, whatever you want to call it. How'd that happen? Well, he somehow lost a debate to the village idiot, Sneako, and then people started saying he lost so bad that he is leaving the internet for good. But that's not entirely true, and we'll get into that in a minute. So, how'd this all start? Well, while the Chris Tyson situation was going down, Penguinz0 was silent, like crickets, and can hear a pin drop, silent, not a peep. And that led to many people wondering why, considering he's a commentary YouTuber with an opinion on everything, except the very serious thing that's staring everybody right in the face.
The Mr. Beast collab. Bro, you're gonna talk about every other trending situation, Dr. Disrespect, Sneako, anything that goes viral goes on your main channel. Chris, the associate of the biggest YouTube channel in the world, you do a 4-minute clip on your second channel. Stop coping and be a journalist if you're gonna be a journalist, or just say that you want to have the collab. Stop lying.
In the rest of the video, Sneako proceeded to call out every big-name streamer who was silent about the allegations on Chris Tyson, stating that the only reason they were silent was because of Mr. Beast's big collab video set to come out. And while that was a valid response at the time, due to a lot of streamers being completely silent, Penguinz0 came back and responded saying that he was always going to make a longer video on it.
Jesus Christ, the fucking drool there is gonna drive me insane. I need to go put on the fucking bathrobe here and give him PTSD or something. What do you mean it is a 4-minute clip? Because I did that so people like you who don't pay attention long enough could see my take on it and also get the bare bones information of what makes it so horrible. That's the reason it's a 4-minute clip on the second channel. It was never going to be the only video I made talking about it. I was always going to make a full breakdown of this because it's bad. It's a horrible situation. So yes, you're right, I do talk about like big trending bad shit like Dr. Disrespect or like Critikal most recently. I don't know why people thought I wouldn't talk about this. I knew Critikal far...
He went on to say that he literally just hadn't made the full-length video yet, which is understandable. YouTube videos take a long time and a lot of effort to make. But that was just the start of the attempted cancellation, because what happened next, even Penguinz0 didn't expect. The debate, and for some reason, both of them had some outrageous takes. It kind of reminded of that one meme of the clowns fighting.
I'm talking about your personal beliefs. Do you think someone in their 20s should be able to marry a 15 or 16-year-old?
To someone in their 20s should be, I mean, I personally wouldn't do it. I don't know many people who would do it. The maturity for people in the teenagers in the West is getting much worse, but there are...
We're talking globally. Let's just talk globally. Like, do you think it is okay for... I'm not talking about just you specifically anymore. Anyone. Do you think it's okay for anyone in their 20s, an adult, to marry a 15 or 16-year-old?
A 21-year-old, if there was a marriage where the father consented and the daughter consented, and it was both good on both families and they wanted to do it, why am I going to get involved? Why should we get the government involved?
Well,
why would I tell them if everybody's consenting, if everybody's okay with it, if the parents are okay with it, if nobody's being harmed, if it's going to be okay, if they're both abiding by the rules and they're not hurting each other, why not?
But they're still, like, they're at best a sophomore in high school. They can't consent to something like that.
So Sneako is defending child marriage? That's actually insane to me. But there is a reason this guy is one of the most hated people on the internet. His fan base almost entirely exists of red-pill teenagers. It's crazy. However, this video isn't about Sneako, even though I could make an hour-long video minimum on the weird stuff he said, because he wasn't the only one to say insane brain-dead takes during the debate. The topic quickly moved to having a SX change as a kid, and this is what Penguinz0 had to say about it.
Do you believe that somebody can go through hormone therapy? Can they change their gender if they're a child?
I think that's totally fine as long as everyone is consenting, as you agree with.
Okay.
Now, I know this is a controversial topic or whatever, but I think you should wait until you're 18 to have any sort of gender-affirming surgery, unless, of course, there is some sort of hyper-specific medical reason involved. When you're an adult, do as you please. But if you're a kid, give your body some time to develop, along with your brain. And I think that's what a large majority of the internet believes, because Penguinz0 started receiving a ton of hate on Twitter and other platforms over his takes on it. Life-changing surgery should never be done on a child. 18+, huge L from Critikal. And even some of his own fans disagreed. I love Charlie. Like been a fan for years. This opinion, ain't it, Chief? So on one side, we have Sneako defending child marriage and wanting to abolish the age of consent, and then we have Charlie trying to make it legal to chop off a kid's nether regions and completely change their biology before they're fully developed. I definitely disagree with what Sneako was saying for most of the debate, but we have to keep in mind one thing. Sneako's reputation is kind of already down the drain. I mean, he's been kicked off of YouTube for a while now, and his audience is fairly small. People see his clips and stuff, but not a ton of people watch his content because they search it out, only because it just pops up on their feed. But with Charlie, he had a lot more to lose, because he is the exact opposite. And just when you thought things couldn't get worse for Charlie, shit started hitting the fan. YouTuber MoistCr1tikal goes on an indefinite hiatus amid public backlash, claiming kids can transition genders. And the internet went crazy. Sneako really did this. Sneako cooked him so hard, he wants to disappear. This is why his takes were extremely safe for his entire career. He's just not equipped to handle controversy like this. How does anyone make Sneako look good? That's wild. And this last tweet is pretty dumb, considering Sneako looked just as bad, and arguably even worse due to his takes on the marriage age. But in classic internet fashion, this was indeed misinformation. The email that was sent out by Charlie's team was only about some podcasts he started, not his YouTube channel. So it's more like he was abandoning a project, not his career, which is a huge difference. And what's Charlie, of course, made a response to all of this backlash in a pretty hilarious way, if I gotta say it.
Heavens to Betsy, what a week, huh, sports fans? Holy Toledo. Yeah, so MoistCr1tikal's in a big oopsie-poopsie situation here. It reminds me of the time in Moonfall when KC Houseman sacrifices himself and dies of cringe to become the moon.
Bro really made this meme come to life. Had a dream where MoistCr1tikal got exposed for something terrible, and so he made a video about his own drama with a cartoony disguise, and no one knew it was him.
I didn't know I was retiring. That's news to me. I'm as shocked as all of you are. It turns out the patient zero behind all of this was a post Jackson made announcing that I would be leaving the podcasts, which is something I thought about periodically for quite a few months now, mainly because I started to recognize that I was becoming the very thing I'd make fun of with being chronically online. Like, I just was always online, and the podcasts were a big proponent of that, and I just kind of wanted to scale back the amount of time I spend online, and I kept Jackson in the loop the whole time here about where my head was at, and last week I told him, hey man, I think this is going to be where I hang up the jersey, you can put it in the rafters, throw it in the dumpster, but I think I'm just going to be, sailing off into the sunset here and just reducing the amount of stuff I do online. Which he completely understood, so he made the announcement just letting people know that, and then that got spun on Twitter and Reddit as MoistCr1tikal's taking an indefinite hiatus and quitting the internet, fundamentally.
Yeah, that's a big difference from retiring altogether. But shortly after this, Charlie posed an interesting question. Why did Sneako get almost zero backlash for his terrible takes throughout the debate?
Easy is. Sneako isn't even in a misunderstanding. He literally advocates for 12 to 15-year-olds to marry adults. And he's the good guy. It's craziness. We live in the loony dimension.
And that is something that is objectively wild about this whole debate. But I can tell you that the answer is quite simple. And it all comes back to this guy's tweet from earlier when he was talking about Charlie's fake retirement. This is why his takes were extremely safe for his entire career. He's just not equipped to handle controversy like this. The reason Sneako isn't getting as much backlash is not the same exact point that this guy is trying to make, but it is related. See, Charlie's entire career, he has had objectively pretty safe takes, all things considered. There's enough controversy to go around, so making claims against the actions of other YouTubers that have done terrible things, like Dr. Disrespect, is pretty easy, because saying that what Dr. Disrespect did is a bad thing is not a controversial take in the slightest. But this was one of his first times expressing an opinion where the majority of people don't agree with him. Sneako, on the other hand, is a man full of bad takes. People almost expect something that outrageous to come from him. He's built his following on being controversial and having relatively extreme opinions in one form or another. Charlie has not. It's like how your crazy uncle says some wild stuff at the family barbecue and you just brush it off, but if you said something like that, your family would be at your neck. But what if I said that Charlie doesn't even believe children should be able to get that surgery in the first place?
And I have no problems at all if a kid gets interested in that process and starts going through that process with proper care. And then when they reach the age where they can consider that surgery and decide they want to do it, then that's all power to them. That's entirely up to them. They have reached that age. They can now do that surgery if they want to. I recognize I did a horrible job of arguing in this debate, which isn't surprising considering I don't debate. This is not something that's in my skill set. Which of course led to some embarrassingly dog shit arguments. Like the one I've seen people reference a couple times is when I briefly mentioned sports in this topic.
And while I understand what he's saying, that sets a pretty weird expectation that when somebody says some insanely dumb stuff on the internet, we all just have to wait a few days to start talking about it because the follow-up video is coming out in a few days. I like that he clarified his stance, but now it kind of begs the question, is this your real opinion? Or did you see all the backlash and then decide you better change it so you don't lose money? Now I don't know the answer to that, truly, but it is an important question to ask regardless, because I've never been in a debate and argued a point for 2 hours, just to completely say my real opinion is actually the opposite of what I've been saying this whole time. Either way, it makes it pretty hard to figure out what's a real opinion and what's an opinion that is crafted so someone doesn't lose money. It reminds me of politics, honestly, and it's all the entire purpose of cancel culture, I think.